lontar itu naskah, dan kebetulan ini banyak orang bilang itu naskah kuno. Sebetulnya awalnya lontar itu ditulis di daun lontar medianya itu. Sekarang teknologi itu semakin canggih hingga disalin ke media kertas.
Deng 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 dong tak tu dua blok tu dua.
Samsul, the dance teacher, teaches the art of movement through traditional Banyuwangi dances. Samsul wishes for them to know love and to feel the dignity of their ancestors' superior culture, the ancestors of the land of Osing Banyuwangi.
Dek, maju. Hak. Neneng. Dek, maju. Jinjet.
Children are never forced to conduct the certain activity. They come and gather of their own free will and awareness.
4, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sharing joy in the circle of play.
Ya, mereka sangat antusias karena siapa lagi untuk yang mewarisi tradisi gandrung ini selain adik-adik kecil dan regenerasi. Ya, satu alasannya mereka juga tidak adanya gadget. Karena yang belajar sinau di sini anak desa khususnya, dan mereka murid saya mulai kecil. 4 kali, 3. Ya, tantangannya ya kita harus telaten dan selalu memperkenalkan tradisi yang ada. Kanan.
One by one, the basic movements in the dance are taught to be strung together into a collaboration of traditional artistic movements.
5.
Pesinauan itu
7, 8.
menurut saya itu tempat belajar tradisi, adat, dan di sini saya juga bisa berdiskusi tentang adat dan tradisi. Pak Samsul itu orangnya sabar, ngajarin anak-anak yang belum bisa menari, terus orangnya itu ya nggak pernah marah.
During the pandemic, the limited space for expression can be perceived as an obstacle for these young artists. The Ricefield Art Space allows children from Olesari village and the surrounding area to simply satisfy their desire to dance. They deftly dress up one by one in between jokes, awaiting for dusk to change into a small stage for their performance later that night. One of the many types of gandrung is gandrung jejer jarandawu, which has a story. Gandrung was originally a form of gratitude to Dewi Sri, or the goddess of rice, when the time to harvest arrives. Gandrung used to be a symbol of struggle. But now it also symbolizes someone who is being liked or loved, so this dance expresses joy. Gandrung dance was originally performed by men dressed as women.
Malam pentas, pagi pentas, malam pentas, pagi pentas. Sangat menjanjikan. Karena di Banyuwangi itu hidupnya lewat seni. Dan ya kita hitung yang senior saya di seni pertunjukan jaranan, itu 1 bulan bisa main 27 kali. Jadi 1 bulan itu bisa libur cuma 3 kali, 3 hari, 2 hari, 5 hari. Karena jarang yang menanggap orkes dangdut, itu jarang, kecuali orang-orang yang punya memang dana yang besar. Karena kan nanggap orkes itu bisa sampai puluhan juta, kalau masih seni pertunjukan 1-an juta lah. latar pendidikan saya sarjana seni tari, kampus di Sekolah Tinggi Kesenian Wilwatikta Surabaya. Awal mulanya mengenal seni dari teman, karena hanya ikut-ikutan gitu. Karena saya bukan penari, saya pesepak bola mulai kecil. Akhirnya saya tertantang di situ dan mendalaminya sampai lewat bangku kuliahan saya dicetak seperti ini menjadi seni. Hasilnya saya bisa keliling Indonesia dan pernah ke luar negeri. Menurut saya terpanggil itu pilihan alam. Kalau menurut saya pribadi, karena saya ini orang seni yang dicetak. Karena saya mengenal seni lewat bangku kuliah dan lewat sanggar. Kalau teman-teman saya yang di sini itu mulai kecil sudah mengerti seni. Nah, jadi saya sangat iri hati dengan mereka.
Samsul, who was born Slamet Diharjo, inherited the skill from his grandfather, who was also an artist in the village. He believes that through art, he will be able to answer life's challenges. Maybe it's not in the amount of rupiah he gets, but it is the pride of being able to continue and preserve the tradition of Weluri running in the land of Blambangan, Banyuwangi.
Ya itu tadi pesan saya, kalau kita menghidupi seni, seni akan menghidupi kita. Apalagi tradisi yang harus diuri-uri dan dilestarikan. Siapa lagi kalau bukan regenerasi yang mau akan menjaga bumi pertiwi ini.
Now Samsul is called to return to his homeland to maintain the dignity of the tradition in caring for tradition of inheriting Weluri.
Jadi Weluri itu wekasan leluhur yang harus diuri-uri. Peninggalan dari nenek moyang yang harus dijaga dan dilestarikan. Bisa berupa ucapan, tingkah laku, ataupun benda.
Katone seneng atine mesem gemuyu nang panggung masih lara atine kiandrong kudu betanahan petna kiandrong sing rosak wong umyah.
World Food Programme says it had reached 1.4 million people with food in Gaza since the war began, but many more are in need of aid. KPU announced the fourth debate session in 2024 presidential elections will be held at Jakarta Convention Center, JCC. First Singapore-born giant panda will return to southwest China's city of Chengdu, dubbed hometown of giant pandas. Hello and welcome to Focus Today here on TVRI World, airing live from Jakarta with the latest reports and updates from Indonesia and of course from around the world. I'm Stephanie Silitonga and here are the main stories for today. The Indonesian government will actively support the resolutions between Palestine and Israel by giving testimony at the International Court of Justice (ICJ) and the UN next month.
Indonesian Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi conveyed Indonesia's stance during the discussion held at her office in Jakarta on January 16. The UN General Assembly asked for advisory opinion of the ICJ related to actions made by Israel in Palestine-controlled territories including East Jerusalem. To respond to the request, ICJ invites UN member countries to give legal opinions. Retno said Indonesia will actively participate in providing legal opinion inputs to ICJ. Indonesia's inputs consist of two parts. First, the written statement that Indonesia already submitted to ICJ in July 2023. Second, the oral statement that Minister Retno will deliver to ICJ on February the 19th. Minister Retno added that Indonesia endorsed South Africa's move, which reported Israel to the ICJ on account of violations of the Conventions of Genocide.
Crowds of Palestinians ran towards aid trucks on a Gaza City beach in eyewitness footage released on Sunday, the 100th day since the outbreak of the war.
Some people carried bags of flour on their shoulders, as others climbed on top of the United Nations trucks, bringing the aid into Gaza. The head of the World Health Organization, WHO, said that unimpeded, safe access to deliver aid and humanitarian ceasefire was needed to prevent further death and suffering. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus added that hunger would further harm the sick and make an already terrible situation catastrophic. Almost 2 million displaced people are sheltering in tents and other temporary accommodation amidst fighting in the south of the Palestinian enclave. With the tiny territory menaced by starvation and disease due to chronic shortages of food, fuel, and medicines.
The World Food Programme said that it had reached around 1.4 million people with food in Gaza since the war began on October 7th, but many more are in need of aid.
WFP footage showed meals being prepared and distributed to displaced families in Rafah and people queuing for bread at a bakery which is being supported by WFP to restart operations. A UN-backed report in December said all Gaza's 2.3 million people faced crisis levels of hunger, with the risk of famine increasing every day and the proportion of the population facing acute food insecurity rising to the highest ever recorded globally.
WFP has been working with partners and communities to deliver food as quickly as possible and as many people as possible, and also supporting local shops, bakeries to operate. So far, we've reached around 1.4 million people with food, but everyone in Gaza is hungry. We're exploring all possible solutions, but none are sufficient in the face of obstacles. There are people starving in areas, and we are not able to give basic food for.
Inside Gaza, hunger is not evenly spread. Nearly all aid arriving in the enclave goes through Rafah on the border with Egypt, and humanitarian agencies have cited problems distributing supplies.
Aha Abu Ras, a 36-year-old shop owner from Dura, said a soldier used me as human shield on Monday, referring to the Israeli military during the latest raid on the West Bank town.
The soldier took me toward the army jeeps and used me as a human shield, the mobile shop owner said. When the Israeli army was asked about the incident, it said in a statement that a violent riot was instigated, during which approximately 100 suspects hurled Molotov cocktails and logs at the forces, who responded with riot dispersal means and lit the fire. Abu Ras said that the soldiers asked him if he sold drones, searched his shop, and then dragged him to the road, where clashes were taking place. Palestinian Health Ministry said at least 10 people were injured, and 22-year-old Mohammed Abu Saba and 21-year-old Ahed Mohammed were killed during the Israeli raid in Dura.
For the past 100 days and since the Israeli offensive on the Gaza Strip began, 37-year-old Sami Muhanna has been stuck in the West Bank city of Tubas, unable to return to his home and reunite with his family in Gaza.
Now stranded and unemployed, Muhanna, along with his brother and cousin, opened a falafel stall to make a living and support his loved ones still in the enclave. The father of three described sleepless nights and long days filled with worry as he watches the news of the ongoing offensive that has ravaged the Strip, completely destroying massive area in Gaza, killing more than 24,000 Palestinians and displacing nearly the entire population of Gaza, 2.3 million people. Muhanna, just like 18,000 other workers from Gaza, was allowed to work in Israel and the West Bank, making substantial earnings for the enclave's ailing economy. In the wake of the Hamas cross-border attack, Israel sent thousands of Palestinians who had been at work in Israel when the attack took place back to besieged territory.
Like many other Gazans, the Al-Hawajiri family has resorted to using seawater to bath and wash their clothes due to lack of clean water across the enclave, the family said.
The family, which has found shelter by the seaside in Rafah following their displacement, said that they are struggling to find food and warmth. As the war in Gaza crosses the 100-day mark, Hitham Al-Hawajiri, Yasmin's mother, says the lack of clean water has left the family struggling. They have to look for water and collect salty water from the sea to wash their clothes and things. The family added there is no cleanliness in their life there at all. The Israeli offensive launched in the wake of a deadly rampage in southern Israel on October the 7th had displaced more of Gaza's 2.3 million population, destroyed civilian infrastructure, and caused acute shortages of food, water, and medicine.
The Yemeni Houthi movement targeted a United States ship in the Gulf of Aden with missiles, resulting in a direct hit, a spokesperson from the Iran-allied group said.
Earlier in the day, the U.S. military said an anti-ship ballistic missile fired by Houthi militants struck a Marshall Islands flanked U.S.-owned and operated container ship. No injuries or damages were reported. Houthi military spokesman Yahya Sariya said all U.S. and British ships and warships taking part in the aggression against Yemen would be targets for the group. Attacks on ships since October by the Houthis, who say they are acting in solidarity with Palestinians, have hit commerce and alarmed major powers in regional escalation of Israel's more than 3-month war with Hamas in Gaza.
Many are demanding the removal of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu due to the security failures resulting from raids on southern Israel on October 7th.
Israelis are still reeling from Israel's deadliest day 100 days ago when Hamas infiltrated southern Israel, killing 1,200 people and kidnapping 240 more. The assault triggered an Israeli military campaign in which nearly 24,000 Palestinians have been killed. A poll published by the non-partisan Israel Democracy Institute in January that Tegan showed only 15% of Israelis want Netanyahu to remain in office after the war on Hamas ends, in line with previous surveys that have shown his popularity sharply down.
No peace initiatives, no big wars. That was his policy. He sustained it, and many people were happy about it because he gave you a feeling of security, of peace, of prosperity. And then it all went wrong on October 7th. And it would be very hard for him to convince people that this policy can continue.
Professor Gideon Rahat, head of the Department of Political Science at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, said that support for Netanyahu is diminishing because of the war in Gaza. Even some of Netanyahu's biggest fans seem resigned to the inevitable departure of a leader they still admire.
You're still on Focus Today. Hundreds of soldiers entered the Cotopaxi prisons in central Ecuador on Sunday following the government's crackdown on prisons to restore order after the hostage crisis.
Soldiers, police, trained dogs, and tanks entered the facilities of Cotopaxi prison as part of the operations across prisons nationwide. Images on social media shared by Ecuadorian armed force showed shirtless prisoners on their knees with their hands on their heads as armed soldiers entered the 7 jails that were the scene of a hostage crisis that ended on Saturday evening. The hostages, which the SNI prison agency previously said were 158 guards and 20 administrative staffers, were held since last Monday in at least 7 prisons before they were freed. The armed groups appear to be reacting to President Daniel Noboa's plan to tackle the dire security situation, according to the government.
The Foreign Affairs Ministry confirmed no Indonesians are impacted by the recent violence that occurred in Ecuador.
Ketika ada pecah konflik pada saat itu.
Director of the Indonesian Citizen Protection, Yuda Nugraha, said on January the 12th, based on information from the Indonesian communities, no Indonesian impacted by the violence that occurred in Ecuador. The Indonesian embassy in Ecuador's capital city of Quito recorded 48 Indonesians residing in the South American country. Some of them are pastors or in missionary work in remote areas outside of Guayaquil, Ecuador's second largest city, where the violent clash occurred. Yuda added that the Indonesian embassy is in close communication with the Indonesian communities and has prepared contingency plan should the armed conflict escalate. The Ecuador government on January the 8th declared a state of emergency as riots in Guayaquil by armed groups killed 11 people. The authority also reported burning of cars, blockades, and bombings in a number of provinces.
After the break, we will come back with many more updates from Indonesia and, of course, from around the world. Stay with us. You're still on Focus Today here on TVRI World. National Disaster Mitigation Agency BNPB has seen dozens of flooding and extreme weather disasters in the first 2 weeks of January 2024, which impacted tens of thousands of Indonesians.
Frekuensi dan intensitasnya ada beberapa kali kita lihat.
Head of Data, Information and Disaster Communication Center of BNPB, Abdul Muhari, said in a briefing in Jakarta on Monday that his office has recorded 38 disasters on between January the 8th to January 14th, 2024. Abdul said that the flood disasters have impacted 49,000 houses and affected 58,000 people in just 1 week. He added that public should remain alert against any possible landslide. One of the occurrences that caught the agency's attention was the landslide in Subang Regency, West Java, which was located in a tourism area of public bathing spot. Abdul said that the landslide could occur in a blink of an eye. Therefore, the management and visitors of the area should maintain vigilance. According to Abdul, the extreme weather occurrences in the past week have destroyed many parts of people's homes. The debris, such as roofs, banners of parts of big trees that get carried away by the flood, wind, or landslide can injure the people. Abdul said that people should maintain vigilance against extreme weather because the rainy season will last at least until the end of February.
The World Health Organization's WHO requested $1.5 billion in funding to address the health needs of millions affected by numerous humanitarian crises worldwide.
Together with our health cluster partners,
on Monday, the World Health Organization (WHO) requested $1.5 billion in funding to handle the health needs of millions of people affected by dozens of humanitarian crises around the world. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said that we aim to reach some 87 million people with life-saving humanitarian assistance this year.
Thank you. Together with our health cluster partners, we aim to reach some 87 million people with life-saving humanitarian assistance this year. To do this, we need support totaling $1.5 billion, and we need this funding to arrive as early as possible and with as much flexibility as possible. That's critical to allow us and our partners to deliver on our commitments. A reactive approach is not enough. We need to look beyond the humanitarian responses and invest more and better in strengthening capacities for preparedness and the resilience of health systems. My sincere hope and ask for 2024 is that we do not disappoint the people we serve in the most fragile places.
Tedros said an estimated 166 million people will require health assistance around the world this year, including the occupied Palestinian territories, Ukraine, Haiti, and Sudan.
Drone footage captured orange lava from Iceland's eruptions near Grindavik, indicating a decrease in activity despite magma still following underground. Meanwhile, a resident of an Icelandic town witnessed his new house burned on live television as lava reached the outskirts of Grindavik, setting 3 buildings on fire.
Molten lava flows reached the outskirts of Grindavik, some 40 kilometers southwest of capital Reykjavik, around noon on Sunday, setting 3 houses alight, although the town had been evacuated earlier and there was no immediate danger to people. GPS measurements showed that magma continued to move in the southern area of the corridor beneath the town. A meteorological office said, adding that new cracks might appear within Grindavik in the next few days. Meantime, Grindavik resident Ranar John Emelson said there had been an evacuation order in November over fears of an imminent eruption, which had disrupted his plan to move into the house he was building before Christmas. But almost a month later, Emelson watched his home go up in smoke. Molten lava flows reached the outskirts of Grindavik around noon on Sunday, although the town had been evacuated earlier and there was no immediate danger to people.
Aerial images showed the site of volcanic eruptions in Iceland on its second day, with damage to buildings on the outskirts of the town of Grindavik that the lava had reached.
The volcano that erupted in southwest Iceland for the second time in less than a month appeared to be significantly less active on Monday, despite indication that magma is still flowing underground. Molten lava flows reached the outskirts of Grindavik around noon on Sunday, setting 3 houses alight, although the town was evacuated earlier and there was no immediate danger to the people. The crack in the earth's surface that opened close to the Grindavik on Sunday was no longer active, and lava production from the larger fissure north of the town was decreasing, volcanologist Rick Pedersen said.
Hundreds of tourists in Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, China, have been safely evacuated after snow-cleared roads near Kana's scenic spot in Altai Prefecture.
Heavy snowfall since January 8 triggered more than a dozen avalanches along a 120-kilometer stretch of the G219 National Highway. The local road maintenance department dispatched 4 snow plows and a team of workers last Wednesday to clear the national highway and open roads leading to villages scattered along the highway. With the clearance work completed on Saturday, the stranded tourists, escorted by police vehicles, were able to leave the villages and travel safely to Birkin County. Some 100 tourists stranded in the village on the western side of Kana's scenic spot were offered free meals and accommodation during their stay. Meanwhile, maintenance workers have been busy clearing Provincial Highway 232, which leads to Kana's scenic spot from the eastern side. Some 1,000 tourists stranded in the area have been accommodated in Hemu village and provided with daily necessities.
Drone footage showed flooded streets and homes in Rio de Janeiro state on Monday after heavy rains buffeted towns last weekend and killed at least 12 people. The rain flooded streets, the capital city's metro line, and people's homes, bringing down trees and causing landslides. People walked in the street with water up to their thighs, asking for help from the authorities. Rio's Mayor Eduardo Paz announced a state of emergency while President Luis Inacio Lula da Silva's government offered federal support. The United States is experiencing white snow due to a Canadian Arctic blast, causing temperatures to drop across the country from the northwest to the Rust Belt. Meanwhile, plows were deployed in Colorado as heavy snow filled streets in the U.S. state.
The U.S. National Weather Service (NWS) reported that swaths of the United States is under white snow after an Arctic blast from Canada caused temperatures to plummet across a vast swath of the country, from the northwest into the Rust Belt. In Washington, D.C., an inch of snow was recorded with the white houses that normally green lawn now matching the building's facade. Diverse regions such as New York, Tennessee, and Kentucky were also covered in snow. And also much of the United States is scraped by an Arctic blast on Monday, cutting power to tens of thousands of customers in northern states and Texas and potentially dampening turnout in Iowa, where voters will cast the first ballots for a Republican candidate in November's presidential race. The dangerously frigid weather is expected to linger throughout the day, hitting the Midwest hardest but also sending snow and freezing rain across the southern and mid-Atlantic states.
You're still watching Focus Today on TVRI World. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris warned Americans their freedom is threatened as she commemorated Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the early voting state of South Carolina. Harris headlined an annual event sponsored by the NAACP, the nation's oldest civil rights groups, which included a prayer service, a march to the South Carolina House of Representatives in Columbia. There, Harris pressed one of Democrats' central elections messages: President Joe Biden and his Democrats need voters help to protect Americans' rights. Harris warned that freedom in the country is under profound threat and quoted King's wife, Coretta Scott King, according to remarks released before the speech, who said freedom is never truly won. You earn it and win it in every generation. Harris urged voters to roll up our sleeves. We were born for a time such as this. Former President Donald Trump is the winner of the 2024 Iowa caucus, recording a commanding victory in the nation's elections event. Voice of America correspondent Kane Faribault is in Iowa and provides this update on the race.
Here at the Media Center in Des Moines, Iowa, we are watching the results come in. We have the ability to see on this large screen behind us the Republican Party results as they're tallied here in the state of Iowa. And what that map shows us right now is how many of the counties here in Iowa have reported their results. Right now, we're looking at that map. It shows that 44% of the precincts in those counties have reported results. There's been more than 92,000 votes cast. Of course, the big story tonight is that former President Donald Trump will win this state. That projection is in by several different organizations, including the Associated Press. But right now, the story is who's in second place. And as we can see on the tally behind us, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis looks like he's in second place. He is ahead by more than 1,000 votes over former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. And so the question now is who will have that momentum in that second place finish leading out of this first in the nation contest and moving on to the next contest, which is the New Hampshire primary. So here in Des Moines, Iowa, everyone's watching to see how the weather here has also impacted turnout. With 92,000 votes tallied here with less than half of the votes in, it looks like turnout is strong. People were expecting perhaps not quite a record, but they were hoping that the enthusiasm generated by all of these candidates would translate into turnout despite the weather and the concerns about the conditions on the roadways here. And so the question now, who will definitively reach that second place finish on the way out of Iowa and to New Hampshire?
KPU announced the fourth debate sessions of the presidential elections will be held at Jakarta Convention Center. Details are next road in our ballot segment. Head of Public Relations and Information's Department of the General Elections Commission's KPU, Reni Rinjani Pratiwi, said people with disabilities are advised to actively check the final voters list or DPT in their region to ensure their voting rights.
Speaking during a virtual discussion on Monday, Reni urged individuals with disabilities who are not yet listed in the final voters list or DPT to as soon as possible contact the election organizer at KPU in Regency or city level. KPU said based on the final voter list or DPT, there are 1.1 million individuals with disabilities who have the rights to vote and registered for the 2024 elections. Reni said that KPU supports inclusivity and remains consistent to facilitate voters with disabilities. KPU also strives and makes progress and provide access for all voters, especially those with disabilities, to more easily exercise their rights. She explained that there are two categories of political rights. First is the right to be elected and second is the right to vote. KPU as election organizer serves the people who wish to exercise both rights, facilitate them to be elected and to vote, fostering more involvement and protecting people with disabilities. KPU also strives to take concrete actions by providing access to voters who want to exercise their rights to vote. Reni also urged families of people with disabilities to help check the location of polling stations or TPS so that they can have a better access to those locations on voting day.
KPU said each liaison officer or LO of presidential and vice presidential candidates will be equipped with handy-talkie at the fourth debate sessions on Sunday, January 21st.
Speaking after a meeting with the candidate teams and media organizer of the fourth debate, Commissioner KPU August Mella said on Monday that it has been agreed that handy-talkie will be used and their usage will be optimized. Mallas explained that the handy-talkie will be used by Super LO, who has full access KPU team as well as the organizing media. The use of handy-talkie is intended to facilitate communication and monitoring the debate. The Super LO with full access means the liaison officer of the candidate pair who can have access to all areas at the debate venue. The full access LO will be positioned near the commissioners of KPU so that they can observe and coordinate communications among them.
The General Elections Commission's KPU announced that the fourth debate sessions of the 2024 presidential elections will be held at Jakarta Convention Center, JCC.
The fourth debate bringing together the vice presidential candidates will be held on Sunday, January 21st. Commissioner of KPU, August Melas, said on Monday that the election body picked JCC as the venue because the candidate teams are familiar with it. For backgrounder, the second debate session was held at JCC on December 22, 2023. Melas said that the technical preparations for the debate are still in progress. KPU has planned a final meeting with the candidate teams and the organizing media to finalize the overall event. He also emphasized that there will not be any format changes for the fourth debate, except for a change in topics. The topics for the fourth debate including energy, natural resources, food, carbon taxes, environment, agrarian issues, and indigenous people. Regarding the panelists, he ensured that KPU choose individuals with competence, ensuring that there is no connection with particular candidate pairs. He added that KPU has not received any protest regarding the selections of panelists for the three previous debates.
The General Elections Commission of North Jakarta reminded Indonesians who will be on business trip to other cities in domestic and overseas during the elections day to file their voting locations transfer request by Monday night.
North Jakarta General Election Commission Cipto Hardoyo said that his commission remains open until Monday midnight at 11:59 p.m. on Western Indonesia time to process voting location transfer requests from the citizens. The citizens who will be in North Jakarta on the election day can submit their voting location transfer requests at North Jakarta KPU or Secretariat Office at District Election Committee or PPK or at Sub-District Election Committee or PPS. The citizens who are on overseas business trip can file their voting location transfer requests at the Overseas Election Committee or PPLN in respective country of residence. KPU Regulation No. 7 Year 2022 on Voters List and Election Organizing Voters Data Information System stipulates that Indonesians who are on leisure trip overseas do not meet the terms and conditions to get the voting transferred. Therefore, they are not eligible to vote in their destination country.
Chief of Greater Jakarta Police Inspector General Karyoto has urged citizens to always maintain harmony ahead of the upcoming elections on February 14th.
Karyoto said the public are reminded to avoid conflict and not to fight against each other as the election day is approaching. He said that supporters are allowed to promote their presidential or legislative candidates to the society. However, they are warned to use proper methods during promotion and must not break regulation. Karyoto also encouraged the public to be wise in using social media. Do not spread false information or slander because it could lead to dealing with the police. He added that the election is a democratic celebration that could be a joyful occasion. The election will produce legislative candidates who can advocate the aspiration of the people.
Now let's move on to our next topic. President Joko Widodo highlighted that higher education institutions play a strategic role in producing excellent and high-quality human resources. The president conveyed the message while addressing the annual Forum of Rectors in Surabaya on Monday.
On the occasion, President Jokowi also said that the higher education institution played a strategic role as a research institution. With a large number of lecturers and researchers, President Jokowi believed that development of science and technology, as well as innovation through quality research, can be continuously strengthened. The President also instructed the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology to optimize the education and research funding. This optimization should not only come from the state budget and regional budget, but also come from the endowment funds. The President added that the optimization of budget is also intended to increase the ratio of people with master's and doctoral education to the productive population. Currently, the ratio of people with master's and doctoral education to the productive population in Indonesia is quite low at 0.45%.
Directorate General of Railway at the Transportation Ministry is reviewing safety aspects of overall train services following several accidents in various regions. The ministry will improve roads and expedite development of double tracks to prevent accidents from recurring.
Director General of Railway at the Transportation Ministry, Rizal Wasal, said in Jakarta recently that ministry continued evaluating several train accidents lately. The latest accident was a train derailment near Tanggulangin Station in Sidoarjo, East Java last weekend. Also on the weekend, two deaths in car crash with a train at a railway crossing in Klaten, Central Java. The other accidents of train versus car at railway crossings also occurred earlier this month and last year in Banyuwangi, East Java and Tebing Tinggi, North Sumatra. One devastating train wreck occurred earlier this month in Cicalengka, Bandung Regency, West Java, where two trains crashed onto each other. Two locomotive engineers and two staff died in the accident. Rizal says the ministry works with related stakeholders to find solutions to prevent accidents from happening again in the future. In order to mitigate train derailment, the ministry aims to conduct at least 18 activities to strengthen safety aspects, which include improvement of lane capacity and other operational facilities.
6 of 10 Sumatran and Bengal tigers in Medan Zoo, North Sumatra are under intensive treatment after suffering from medical complications. Previously, 3 tigers had died allegedly from the same illness.
The 6 tigers has been suffering from medical complications and reached a phase called dubious infausta, meaning that there may be no cure for their illnesses. There is no clear information where the tigers caught their diseases. However, a medical checkup results has shown that they might have been suffering since a few years ago. The situation has sparked public attention after a tiger named Erha died at Medan Zoo on November 11 last year, prompting the zoo staff to conduct medical checkups. The staff found that several tigers were not in good condition. Just days after the death of Erha, a Bengal tiger named Avatar died on November 16, followed by the death of a female Sumatran tiger named Putri Nurhaliza on December 31, 2023. Bambang Hendarto, acting president director of Medan City Regional Company, which supervised Medan Zoo, admitted that 6 out of 10 tigers in the Medan Zoo had been ailing for years. He says the death of the tigers in the zoo was very unfortunate. The Medan Zoo had yet to breed the ailing tigers before, including among them a tiger called Bintang Sorik. Despite being treated, the zoo does not have a proper treatment facility for the tigers. The zoo still relies on grants from North Sumatra Natural Resources Conservation Agency or BKSDA and the Indonesian Zoo Association or PKBSI.
Animal activists criticized Medan Zoo in North Sumatra for insisting to operate despite neglecting its animals and hygiene. At least 3 tigers have died at the zoo after suffering medical complications, while several others have been ailing for months.
Animal activists have urged authorities to close down Medan Zoo in North Sumatra after the death of several tigers in the past few months and bad sanitary condition in its facilities. One activist, Ariska Mukharliza, found empty and broken cages, while a tiger was seen unhealthy. The Sumatran tiger named Bintang Sorik is just one of several tigers which have been ailing and needed intensive treatment. The activist says most of the empty cages were damaged. However, the zoo still places a number of animals in broken cages. For instance, the roof over the cage of green peacock was broken, while dirty piles of garbage and leftover food were found in monkey cages. It shows that the zoo does not care enough to clean its facilities. Aside from broken and dirty cages, public facilities such as rest areas for visitors were neglected and left damaged. Most open areas are also filled with wild bushes. The neglected zoo certainly offers no comfort at all for the visitors. Ariska Mukharliza says it is not proper for Medan Zoo to operate and insist on showing its animals. She calls for the zoo to be shut down until it can get help from the government. Mambang Hendarto, acting president director of Medan City Regional Company, says that Medan Zoo has yet to show efforts to improve itself since 2005. As of now, Medan Zoo has 115 species of animals, including 10 Sumatran and Bengalan tigers, elephants, and orangutans.
After the break, we will come back with many more news from around the world. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Devini Hermawan. I will tell you why you should taste gado-gado as one of the most iconic Indonesian cuisine. So, just like any other salad with dressing, the dressing itself takes the major part to make gado-gado. It's really delicious. Here it is, rendang. So just put, this is the white pepper, shallots in, as well as the beef. This is our rendang. Now we can assemble them into a beautiful bowl of soto ayam Lamongan. A simple but special perkedel kentang. The flavor is really intense.
Indonesian flavor with Chef Devina every Saturday, 5:30 p.m. Western Indonesia time.
That's all for today's edition. Indonesia has different culinary flavors, and I will be back with another authentic menu. See you and goodbye.
Open the envelope in front of you and guess where it is.
Oh, it's Sarah. Sarah Desert.
No, can you believe it? It's Parangkusumo Sand Dunes in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Imagine surfing through the vastness of where the sand meets the sky, only to find you're at a wonderful beach. Any questions?
Wow, trop bien.
You're still on Focus Today here on TVRI World. Actress Michelle Yeoh received an award for her humanitarian work at the opening ceremony of the World Economic Forum.
The Malaysian actress, who is United Nations Development Programme Goodwill Ambassador, was presented with the Crystal Award 2024 for her exemplary commitment in empowering the most vulnerable. Yeoh was appointed Goodwill Ambassador in 2016 and has focused on work aimed at ending inequality, promoting gender equality and fighting poverty.
For me personally, action in the face of adversity opened doors, altered the course of my life, and made every dream of a little girl come true. I wish the same for millions of women and girls around the world, that action, big and small, might empower, illuminate and elevate their lives. And I invite everyone in this room to join forces in order to make that dream a reality. Gender discrimination is not.
Meanwhile, architect and educator Diego Francis Kere will also receive the award for his exemplary leadership helping Burkina Faso's Gando community create a socially, economically and ecologically sustainable future through the projects that focus on education, health and the environment.
I told my people, if we want to have a school that has a stronger impact and bring us a stronger future, we should do it ourselves and not to wait for someone that come and do it for us. And also, I said it is important to use the most available material we had in the village, which was clay. Believe me, it was not easy to convince, but I succeeded, and we built a school with the help of the community for the community.
Other people honored were musician Nile Rogers, chairman and co-founder of the We Are Family Foundation, for his humanitarian work, including fighting systemic racism, inequality and injustice.
Brunei held a royal banquet ceremony on Monday to celebrate the wedding of Prince Abdul Matin, son of the world's longest reigning monarch, Sultan Hassan al Bolkiah, and a lavish 10-day-long royal wedding ceremony in the oil-rich sultanate.
The prince and his bride, Anisha Rosna Isa Kalabek, the granddaughter of one of his father's key advisors, attended a royal banquet that was joined by the royal family and televised throughout the country. The couple's Islamic solemnization ceremony took place on Thursday. The couple paraded throughout the city on Sunday. The wedding celebration began on January 7 and will last through January 16. Prince Matin has gained fame in recent years, accompanying his father on diplomatic engagement, including King Charles' coronation and Queen Elizabeth's funeral in 2022.
Tourists captured the video of a rare white Omuras whale off the coast of Phuket, Thailand on New Year's Day. Video shot from a boat showed the white whale swimming nearby and coming to the surface. Still images revealed the white pigment of the whale's skin. The tour company that shared the footage said they had named the whales Talang. Scientists observed Omuras whales in the wild for the first time off the coast of Madagascar, according to research published in 2015 in the Royal Society Open Science Journal. Omuras whales are small tropical baleen whales that were previously identified as bright whales. This white Omuras whale could be the first known instance of an albino Omuras whale. Li, the first Singapore-born giant panda, will return to southwest China's city of Chengdu, dubbed hometown of giant pandas.
Particularly his caretakers. His birth came as a wonderful surprise.
If you're feeling lonely and want to talk to a loved one on the other side of the world, the Holobox can make it happen. Let's take a look.
Created by HoloConnect, a company from the Netherlands, the device is based around a transparent 86-inch screen with advanced software and hardware components that create a lifelike 3D hologram in high definition 4K that can be projected anywhere in the world, providing you have an internet connections and a Holobox. The person appearing as a hologram inside the Holobox will require a 4K camera to film themselves. A decent light and reverb will be standing in front of a white background.
You're seeing me now as a 3D hologram. We're coming through our Holobox 3D hologram display. This is now the 21st century version of how people are going to be able to communicate with each other.
HoloConnect hope that the device will help combat social isolations and loneliness.
what our technologies and methodologies are doing is making just that 3D, giving it that dimension that you're not going to see on a home screen or your computer laptop or your desktop when you're looking at Zooms. This is giving you that real dimensionality of humanness.
The Holobox is the brainchild of HoloConnect CEO Andre Smith and his business partner and relative Marnix Locke, who founded the company in 2020 after the death of a family member. Their original concept was to create a device that could capture memories from the past so that loved ones could be remembered in a lifelike way after they died. The idea eventually evolved into the Holobox.
Indonesian national team down with 1-3 against Iraq in the first match of 2023 Asian Cup Qatar. Details are next in our sports highlights. Indonesian national team was down with 1-3 against Iraq in the first match of 2023 Asian Cup Qatar held at Ahmed bin Ali Stadium, Qatar. Still, the result was much better than Indonesia's earlier encounter with Iraqis in the qualifications of World Cup 2026 Asia Zone when the Garuda squad surrendered 1-5.
Indonesia managed to equalize the position through Marcelino Ferdinand's goal at 37th minute after previously being left behind through Muhammad Ali's goal at the 17th minute. However, 2 goals by Osama Rashid at 7 minutes of extra time of the first round and Ayman Hussein at 75th minute confirmed Iraq's victory in the first Group D match of the 2023 Asian Cup. In this match, coach Shin Tae-yong made one change to Indonesia's team's starting lineup, different from the starting lineup in Indonesia's recent friendly match against Iran, where Indonesia surrendered 0-5. Coach Shin put Asnawi Mangkualam as starter in place of striker Witan Sulaiman. With this loss, Indonesia is temporarily at the bottom of Group D with no points earned. Meanwhile, for Iraq, the victory puts it at second position behind Japan, despite securing the same 3 points. Indonesia will next fight against Vietnam in the second Group D match of Asia Cup 2023 on 19 January.
South Korea beat Bahrain 3-1 in their Asian Cup Group E opener on Monday, with Paris Saint-Germain's Lee Kang-in rescuing his side with a second-half brace at the Jassim bin Hamad Stadium.
In a stop-start opening half that had plenty of fouls and several yellow cards, South Korea took the lead in the 38th minute from a quick passing move, where Hwang In-beom fired home through a crowd of Bahrain defenders in the box. Bahrain equalized 6 minutes into the second half when Abdullah Al-Hashash found space inside the box to score, but South Korea responded 5 minutes later when Lee curled in a superb strike from long range. Lee then scored his second in the 68th minute, showcasing some panache as he curled another shot past the keeper into the far post to seal the 3 points for South Korea, while he went joint top of the tournament's scoring charts.
Spanish motorcycle rider Charles Falcon has died more than a week after crashing in the Dakar Rally in Saudi Arabia, his team said.
Falcon had been in an induced coma since he was flown to hospital in Riyadh and then back to Spain after falling 448 kilometers into the second stage on January 7 from Al Henakia to Al Duadmi. Race director David Castera said the rider had lacked a pulse, but was resuscitated by the first doctor to arrive on the scene. Dakar organizers expressed their condolences to his family and friends. Falcon from Tarragona was competing in an unassisted bikers category. The grueling event, being held entirely in Saudi Arabia for the 5th time, has claimed many lives since the first Paris-Dakar Rally was held in 1978. Falcon was the 33rd competitor to die, but first since 2022.
And that ends today's news on Focus Today. I'm Stephanie Silitonga. Stay safe, everyone. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.